Hey guys, welcome back to the 4x2 Wagon Family Garage, and today we're going to do a quick review and show you guys this amazing product I have found. I've been looking for something like this for a very long time, and I found something similar, but they were around $800. And basically what this is a auto shut-off regulator valve. So what you do is you set the gauge to whatever pounds you want it to stop at, and it turns off. How cool is that, right? Because one of the most time-consuming thing after you get done wheeling is sitting there by your tire and making sure that each tire is inflated equally around all four corners. And that takes some time, and it's quite boring while you can do other things. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. And so this is the only product I have found that's like this, where it shuts off automatically. There are a lot of similar products, but they don't shut off. If you guys do have one that shuts off automatically, I would love to hear your thoughts and what products you're using so that we can share that with everybody else. But this is a Milton auto shut-off valve regulator. It's one of the best companies out there that makes this type of product. These are all made in USA, and these guys have been around forever, and they make products primarily for, you know, the big haulers, the semi trucks and whatnot. So the way that this thing works is right now when there's no pressure on here, this is all analog, okay, mind you, there's no digital on here, so you got to use these knobs to adjust the pressure. The only way you can see that pressure is you got to have the hoses hooked up to your tires to start with. So this one is the model 1145, which has two connections, so you can inflate two tires at the same time. And these have a really high quality quick connects. You can just use it with one hand, just push it on and you're done. And these were made again for the semi trucks, right? Because a lot of semi trucks, or actually all semi trucks, are dualies in the rear, so they can plug in both of them at the same time and inflate it and whatnot. Okay, but they do make a single hose connector as well. That is half the cost. It's about $90. This setup is about $210. So anyways, I don't know why it's a little bit more for two. Maybe it's the convenience factor. And I will leave the links down below for this and the other products. So basically, it's a deflator and an inflator. As soon as you connect this to the tires, there's a knob on the back of the regulator. You basically pull it out just a little bit. Don't yank it all the way out. Just pull out a little bit like this. Then you set the pressure that you want it to stop at while you're inflating or deflating. But again, you got to have it connected to register the pressure through the line. Okay, then once you set that pressure that you want, you just push it in, and that's it. So I've been testing this thing for quite some time now to fine tune it the way I want it when I come off the trail. So every time I measure it on and off the trail with a digital gauge, it's not exact to this. So once you guys figure that out, once you set it, I will just leave it. So I have mine set to about 33 pounds, between 30 and 33 pounds. And then, of course, when I use the digital gauge, it's always different because it's a different brand or whatever. But I trust this gauge over the gauge I have, which is made by, made in China. Harbor Freight brand is what I have. So I trust this particular gauge over anything else. All right, so what I want to do today is show you guys how to use this, and I hope you guys can see the benefits of why you may want to go with this type of application versus other similar things like this. What I found though is that a lot of off-road company that makes off-road products like this, they charge you arm and leg. Like without this auto shut-off regulator, they're charging you around $300 to sometimes $400 just for the hose and this, two-way regulator, and it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, you can buy this whole thing for under 50 bucks minus the regulator, right? But having this little feature is what sets this apart from the other brands out there. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so one of the first things I'm going to do is show you guys how I use this whole system here. So I got the air compressor set up. I've got an air line coming out of my compressor. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and hook up this shut-off valve, on and off valve, with the end of the hose line coming out of the compressor. All right guys, so I think we're ready to go. I got the front and the rear tire at the pressure I want. I got 8 in the front and then 17.5 in the back. And I've used this digital Merlin Harbor Freight gauge to get my pressure. Okay, so these are really nice quick connects. You want to make sure that it's seated really good on the valve stem. Once you put one on, the other end will start losing air. You guys can hear that in the microphone. There we go. And you can, so what it's doing right now, you can probably hear that little noise. What it's doing right now is with these dual air hoses, it's regulating the pressure automatically so that they're both even. And that's just the way that all regulators work. When you have 2 hoses hooked up, it equalizes the pressure automatically, okay? So it's not just because this is a Milton, any regulator with two lines coming out into 2 tires is gonna have this feature automatically. All right, let's go ahead and turn this on. And the nice thing about this is that I can let the air compressor run. I don't need to sit there and babysit this while I can go do other things like put my sway bar links back on my truck, right? So I can multitask. There you go. So once it's done, all you gotta do is disconnect these 2. But one thing you wanna do is you wanna disconnect them both as quickly as possible, because as soon as you disconnect one, you're gonna start losing air a little bit out of the other end. So right now it's regulating because remember we had 2 different tire pressure, 17 and 8. So it's regulating right now and it should be done. So let's go ahead and turn the valve off. So there's that air. So there you go. That's why you want to come in and disconnect both at the same time as quickly as possible. Okay, so let's move this out of the way. Turn off the compressor. So we are at 31 pounds, okay? So obviously you're dealing with an analog gauge and a digital gauge, so and 2 different types of gauges, so it may not be as accurate as you like, but this is where you're gonna learn to play with the regulator before you guys go out on trail. Let's go check the back tire. Okay, so let's check this guy. And this is at 30.7. So we're definitely in the ballpark, and you guys, and this is definitely, you know, acceptable as far as, you know, getting both tires equally the same amount of pressure, because, you know, if you remember, this was 17 pounds and that was 8 pounds when we first started. So the fact that it regulated everything and it shut off when it was done, I think that is huge. So what do you guys think? All right guys, so the next test I want to share with you is using a more of a conventional electric air compressor like this one. I think most of you guys have something like this, and the question is, will it work with this auto inflator hose by Milton? And the answer is yes. So as long as you have on your air compressor this pressure release valve right here, it's going to work. So basically what's going to happen is once the air shuts off on here, it's going to basically, there's going to backflow into the compressor, and that's where this comes in handy, or this is where this comes into play. It's going to basically relieve the backflow pressure out of this little, this little valve, okay? So let me show you guys what that looks like. Okay, all right, so here we go. And I'm going to turn up my dial to about 35 to 38 pounds, okay? All right, so here we go. Okay, did you guys hear that? Right there. Again. So as soon as you guys hear that, you're done. So basically, if your compressor has one of these shutoff valve or the back pressure valve, you guys can use this auto inflator without any problems. Now for some few downsides. Like, every product isn't always perfect. There's always some improvements you guys can make, or suppliers can make. In this case, as you guys can see, this thing is like an octopus. This thing is a pretty burly hose, which I like. But with that burly hose, it's kind of rigid. You know what I'm saying? So if you guys want to store this, stow this away in some compact place, well, you're not really going to find a good place, because now you got two lines coming out. You're going to need a good pouch or a suitcase to store this, so that, one, you don't damage the connections. And the way I do it is simply like this, okay? But I mean, it's not horrible, right? The actual benefit of the way it inflates exceeds some of these little things like the hassles, but it is a little rigid, and you got to find a place where you're going to protect the valve and all of that. So that's that, but it's not awful. So I have another ARB box that looks just like the one that's in the compressor. That's where I stow this thing. All right, so what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your comments. If you guys want some more information about this, I will leave the links down below to the Milton website. I actually bought this through Home Depot, but I'll leave all the links down below so you guys can make that decision on your own. So until then, we'll see you guys next video, and God bless, and be safe out there in the COVID world.